There we go.
Okay.
Andrew is there. Andrew, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, thank you. And for everybody else, Andrew cannot participate in person for one of the authorized reasons, and so he'll be joining us online.
Andrew.
Hey, I'm in day 5 of quarantine. It only took me 3 years to catch COVID, so, you know.
Pretty well.
All right, welcome, Andrew. Number 5 on our agenda is approving the consent agenda. And I'll read through the items, and anyone can ask that an item be pulled, and then we can vote on them. So in the consent agenda for this evening are the minutes for the special meeting on Tuesday, 24 January 2023, as well as closed session minutes for Tuesday, 24 January 2023. And in the category of expenditures, we have the expenditures cash disbursement detail report for January 2023. And last, we have 3 action items: a resolution establishing executive director as the formal title for the administrator of the Batavia Public Library. This is resolution 2023-01, and this comes from the Committee of the Whole. Number 2, a resolution temporarily suspending the remodeling project, and this also comes from the Committee of the Whole as well as the Committee on Finance. And number 3, a hydraulic oil change by Schneider Elevator Company Corporation, and this is from the Committee of the Whole. Would anyone like to have anything pulled from the consent agenda?
I just have a question. Why is January 24th?
Adopt a schedule of regular meetings. And the regular meeting would have been was approved by the board for January 17th, and that was canceled. So when a new meeting was added, that becomes a special meeting.
Thank you. That's a good question.
If there's no other questions, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jenny. Any discussion? Then we can do a voice vote. I meant a roll call vote. Mary Ann, would you call the roll?
Collada? Aye. H-Man?
Aye.
Ford? Aye. Hubbard? Aye. Larson? Aye. Russo?
Aye.
Fasano? Aye.
And it carries. Thank you. Number 7, would you like to make a motion? 6, a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move to approve today's agenda.
Elizabeth made the motion, and a second.
Second.
Mariana, or Catherine, I think you won. So we have a motion and an agenda. Any discussion? And for this, we can do a voice vote. So all in favor of accepting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, same sign, and the agenda is approved. All right, number 7, financial reports for January 2023.
Got a couple of quick comments in relation to revenues. There are 2 items. The personal property replacement tax we've discussed before is going to be substantially over the budget. And it looks like probably, I think next year as well. We don't know what we're forecast to get until August of every year after we put the budget together, so it's a little bit of a guesswork. And the other would be the interest income, which is going to be substantially over the budget. The amount that we receive percentage-wise is gone up dramatically in the last probably 18 months. It's pretty interesting. And then the transfer to the special reserves, which we budgeted $300,000 for right now, with an estimate of about $785,000. think there will be more that will actually go when we get to the end of the fiscal year. I've asked a couple of the largest areas, youth services and adult services, for predictions through February of this year, what they're going to look like for the rest of the year, and we'll keep estimating as we get closer to the end of our fiscal year. So if there are no questions.
Joe, is some of that from snow removal, from the low cost of snow removal this year? Or is it a low cost this year?
No, that's not in here. That's in the building maintenance fund.
Oh, that's
That wouldn't be reflected here, but it is below at this point. Mostly it's salt, so.
Is the interest income, extra interest income, just due to the rise of interest rates?
Yes. And I'm stingy with the money. I try to keep it over the place it's earning longer, so.
That's great. Any other questions for Joe? All right. Thank you, Joe. Number 8, the President's Report. And at our last regular meeting, or the COW meeting, I mentioned that library leader is coming up, and Elizabeth is chair of that committee, of the outreach committee, and so she's going to give us a little more information about library leader, which is a really nice award that the library gives.
Correct, and there is also, the information will be in everyone's packet. So the Library Leader Award was created in 2003 to honor people who have made outstanding contributions to the library as library leaders. There is an award winner in this room, sitting to my right. So in the past couple of years, though, because it wasn't necessarily given every year, so a couple of years ago, we decided to make it a biannual award to be given out in odd number years. So that would be this year as well. And we also updated the rationale and both a little bit of the eligibility criteria. So to be eligible for the Library Leader Award, a nominee must meet at least 3 of the following criteria out of 7: that they demonstrate exemplary commitment to the goals and missions of the Batavia Public Library, that they make a significant and long-lasting contribution to the advancement of the library through leadership, excellence, achievement, or volunteerism. 3, advocates for access to information and freedom of speech and expression. 4, promotes the growth and development of the library. 5, fosters partnerships with local organizations and agencies to enhance the quality of library service in Batavia. 6, champions the library and its services to the community. And 7, encourages innovative and visionary thinking in the library's operations, programs, and services. And we also decided that we would only award it one person at a time. The nomination process has begun, so in order to do so, we asked that in order to be nominated, that we be given letters of recommendation about the person. They usually do not nominate themselves. And then a committee is put together. Usually it's the outreach committee, but we also have put together a special committee for that purpose in the past. So we require 2 letters of eligibility saying why they meet 3 of those 7 criteria. And then the outreach committee meets and decides who would be best representative of the Library Leader Award, at which point we do celebrate them with a ceremony, and they are added to a very special book, which is beautifully, calligraphy is the term, but beautifully done, and honor them in that way. So it is a good award. And last time we gave it out, there were 2 nominees, and we gave it to Joanne Smith.
So their nominations are due in April?
Correct. And then the award would be given out in September for library card sign-up.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Chosen very much on purpose.
So that's coming up quickly.
So if you have anyone, please nominate them or encourage someone else to nominate them as well.
Thank you. Then also under the President's Report, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the Board of Trustees self-evaluation. We did it a year ago at about this time, and that was an instrument put together by Joanne Smith, the former president, and it looks at individual areas. So how do we as board members act as proponents of the library? And how well do we understand our role as a trustee. The third section looks at our relations with the director. And number 4 was some open questions. And last year we decided that we had 2 areas of focus, and that was the succession plan and working with the architect, or working with the architectural work that needs to be done. So it seems to me that those are 2 good goals to just keep for this year. And if you agree, I'm suggesting that we don't do a self-evaluation this year and just continue with those 2 goals.
I agree with that for those reasons.
Andrew, are you good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Good. Well then, we will keep those 2 areas as our goals for the coming year. And even though they weren't formal goals, 2 other areas that we talked about a year ago were discussing the content of the retreat for the board after the election, as well as board education. So I think once the new executive director is hired, I'm wondering if maybe we could have a committee to work with the director to plan out that retreat date. So that's something for the future. But I do want to talk tonight about 2 opportunities for board education. And the first one is just a survey from the Heartland Library System. The Heartland Library System won a grant, and what they're asking for is input from the trustees about what you need to know about your library. And then they're going to create a resource and share it with the entire state based on what people say. So what I'm proposing, or what I'm planning to do, at the end of the meeting tonight, I'm going to send everybody 2 emails. And the first one is to just take this survey, and it allows us to participate with libraries throughout the state, give our feedback, and then we'll have access to that resource once it's put together. And there is we have a week to do it. So they would like results or participants to take the survey by the 28th of February, a week from today. I did it, and I was kind of surprised how short it was. It was really just a 5-minute survey, but it was interesting to see the items that they put on that. So I'm going to send out that to you as an email, and if you want to participate, just click on it, and you can do that. Then the second thing is that the American Library Association has a series of 3 trustee forums, and they're virtual forums. So they're on, and you don't need to write this down because I'll send it to you in an email, March 4th, April 1st, and May 13th. It's Saturday from 10 to 2, but they record them. So even if you don't go, you get the recording of it. And I thought the topics were interesting this year. The first one is library buildings, planning for the future. So it's a 2-hour virtual seminar. The second one is library finances for trustees. So that sounds like another good one. And then the third one is how to run efficient and effective board meetings.
Good topics.
They really are good topics, and the cost is $15 each or $40 for all 3. And George said that you'd like to do a group registration.
Well, that way, the library pays for this. We have a professional development line item. And if we handle the registrations in the office, we can take advantage of any discounts,
And if we register but end up not being able to do it live, then that'll give us the on-demand availability?
Mhm.
Okay, to watch it at a different time. Okay, good.
Right.
Really, if all 7 of you will want to do it, that's like $210. It's not like for all of them, so it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should do it.
And I think all those topics are things we can use.
Should we just sign everybody up for all three, and then you can go or not go as your schedules allow?
I think so, especially if you could do the on-demand and do it at a different time if it's not working.
Amy, will you take?
Andrew, do you want to do that too?
Sure.
Oh, that's great.
We'll take care of that in the office.
I'll still send you the
Yes.
email so that you know, it's got a nice listing of who the speakers are, and there will be an attorney there for the third one about running effective meetings. So it does look like a good lineup. So after sometime tonight, you'll get 2 emails from me.
You send a copy of the one to Amy so that she can.
Yes.
Okay.
And to you, I'll send it to you too. Okay. So I am done with the president's report. So number 9, good news and comments from the board.
We had a good sale at the Friends of the Library. We had some Legos that were donated at Joanne Zillman. She asked if the Friends of the Library would be interested, and somebody said yes. Linda, who handles our sales, said, oh yeah, she'll put a price on anything. They went very well, and so we did $1,300 this last month.
Amazing.
It's been getting better every month. I'm not quite sure what's in the air in Batavia, but it went from like 11 to 12 to $1,300 over the course of a few months. So.
Yeah, we're consistently over 1,000, which is remarkable.
Considering the books are 50 cents to $1. Yes.
Seriously, it's right there.
Well, the Friends do great things for the library, so
Absolutely.
thank you for serving as our representative.
I enjoy it.
Any other good news or comments from the board?
Yes,
Mary Ann?
I'm always amazed at some of the comments on Batavia Facebook. But I think that's true of any social media site. A woman was looking for a particular cookbook for one day. And I thought, well, why didn't she check the library? So I went on the library site, is this book available? Yeah, it's available, it's on this shelf. And I responded by telling her, the book is available, it's on the shelf, here's the number. So, did she use it? I don't know. Did she have a library card? I don't know, but it's just, that would have been my first resource. Go to the library rather than ask on, but that's okay. If she actually uses it, or if she gets a library card because she doesn't have one, that's even better.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think the good news part of that story is thank you for telling her about the library. So that was very nice of you to do that.
Stacy, you've got a new substitute librarian.
Any other good news or comments from the board?
I just want to say thank you to you, Daniel, for finding those opportunities. That was really nice. That was a great president's report. Thanks.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right, number 10, correspondence and communications. George, did we get anything?
No, nothing special. I don't have anything to add at this point. So.
Okay. Then number 11, directors and librarians reports.
Well, there are reports in your packet, as usual. Under Inspire Awards, I sent you an email today announcing the date of this year's Inspire celebration by the Chamber of Commerce. And the library has participated on a large scale since about 2005, and part of the professional development we do is to be more active in the community, or as active as we can be. So you're all welcome to participate in this, and spouses and significant others as well. We just ask that you pay for the spouse or significant other. The library covers the cost of trustees and leadership team members. So it's usually quite interesting. It's a good networking event, and I think it's good for the library to be seen in the community, which is why we started to do this in the first place. And then Joanna's not here tonight, but I know that the Winter Library/Reading Club has been going great guns, and it has one more week to run. A lot of reading and other fun activities taking place.
The art and science and art fair
Absolutely, it was very,
very well attended. It was very busy when we came through, so.
the parking lot was busy that day. So thank you.
And there were live animals, so.
It was great fun, and I don't know if your daughter won a prize, but I got this message that my 2-year-old granddaughter received a prize, so I picked it up, and it was one of their little 3D magnetic hearts that you put on the refrigerator. It was darling, but I guess they had made a batch of those, and yeah, so she really loved it.
Thank you.
Who wouldn't?
I know.
So I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you. Two items I'd like to highlight. One is a new staff member in adult services. Carly, who you may recognize from circulation services, has moved a little bit north in the building and is joining us at the reference desk, and we're so happy that she'll be with us.
She helped me the other day.
Did she?
She did.
Fantastic. It was her first, look, she's been in our department like 2 days, so.
She found the answer.
She hit the ground running.
On top of me.
Yes. Also, I just wanted to highlight some very small but significant additions to the Library of Things. We've added some charging cables, which people can check out. And the reason that we thought of this is that at the reference desk, we get this question. I'm using a study room and my phone is running out of charge, can I? And so we were discussing this at a meeting, and we're just like, we can add them to the Library of Things. This morning, I was at the reference desk, got a question from a patron who needed to charge her device while using a study room, and we were able to direct her to these items. So they're really proving helpful, and I just want to applaud the collaboration that goes on in this building. We ran this by Stephanie to make sure this would work for circulation, and Carrie created cataloging records for these items for us to review, packaged them beautifully, and I'm just so grateful that we're a cataloging library. Not all libraries in Swan are, and I'm very grateful for Carrie's willingness to do these completely out of the box cataloging projects for us.
What number does that go under?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And that she loves the challenge, and I just am really grateful for that kind of collaboration that helps us bring services to our patrons. Any questions?
And then I did give Stacy just a bit of warning that, you know, every month we get all of these sheets of statistics, and it was so nice when Jenny and when Joe goes over and explains the things from an accountant's eyes. And so I asked Stacy to just pick out a statistic that she could present to us through a librarian's eyes. What do you see when this number is this? So, Stacy?
Thank you first off for the question. This is a really fun thing to think about. One of the things I want to talk about is weeding and some shifting priorities in the collection. One of the things, if you take a look at the monthly cataloging report, and that's the report that Carrie produces.
That's the one on white.
Yeah, it's on a white sheet of paper. It looks like this. There are two numbers that I want to point out. One is the first line, adult reference, and it shows that we added 10 items in January and withdrew 17. So our reference collection has been shrinking over the past many years. During the pandemic, we took the opportunity to do a pretty extensive reading of reference, which has been getting less and less use. And indeed, some reference titles that were standard sources for us just 10, 15 years ago, like the Kelly Blue Book, no longer even printed in print.
Yeah.
So things have really shifted. We did the easy weeding and reference first. Each selector looked at their area. Then we went through and did some of the tougher decisions. And then we looked together and everyone weighed in on how they wanted some of the things that the selectors weren't certain about. We all weighed in on those. Transferred some of those titles into circulating nonfiction. Made sure we had room in those shelves. And also took a look at what some of our online resources provide. For example, we have weeded the Gale Encyclopedia of Medicine, which was getting a little bit old. We didn't spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for the new edition because the newest edition is contained within our database, Gale Health and Wellness. So that same content is available. It's updated as part of the subscription that we pay for, so we're not buying the same thing twice. So we took a close look at those things so we weren't kind of double dipping, and we're trying to make really effective, efficient use of the budget. And also make it available in a way that's easy for patrons to access 24/7. The other number that I'd like to point out, and this is a whopper this month, our fiction number. We added 231 books and withdrew 768. Let me tell you about why that's going on. When I think about fiction reading, I think about painting the Golden Gate Bridge. I heard once that by the time they finish painting the Golden Gate Bridge, they start painting the Golden Gate Bridge. Again, it's an ongoing cycle. And I feel like our fiction collection, which is substantial in size, by the time we get to the end of it, it's time for us to update our parameters with new dates and go after it again. During the time that we were closed during the pandemic, none of that happened. So we're still playing catch up. And one of the things we want to make sure to try to stay ahead of, and usually we succeed, but sometimes we don't, is that we don't want to have the shelves so full that it's difficult for patrons to get the books out without them springing out at them, and for our pages to get the books shelved. So periodically there are times that Stephanie will alert me to really tight areas, and we make that a reading priority. So we've really been getting after the fiction reading lately. And the reason that number is so out of balance is that we were just sitting, we were still ordering books, things were coming in, but the things that were not getting checked out were not going away. So we are still playing catch up after all this time, and just trying to keep that collection really fresh and usable for our patrons.
This might be a silly question, but what do you do with those 768 books?
There's nothing silly about that. The books that are weeded from the collection go to the Friends book sale.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yes. The only instance where they don't is if they come back damaged and they're in no
Sure.
condition for that. But all of the books that get weeded do go to the Friends, and then they come back and they benefit us again. So it's kind of like this wonderful recycling, reuse, recycle, and that they go through several iterations of helping us.
It's amazing that nobody's checking them out, but they'll pay 50 cents for them.
Very true. It is very true. I've been guilty of it myself.
Right?
I know. You can own it for 50 cents.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. There are some wonderful bargains.
What is some of the criteria for reading
Mhm.
books? I understand, like with reference, if
Right.
it's out of date,
Right.
that kind of thing. Dress
Yeah.
for Success from 1976 or whatever.
Exactly. Your career as a typist with a typewriter on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing. In fiction, I actually pulled our parameters in case I got this kind of question. So right now, our parameters currently for reading fiction are that we only take a look and we are able to run reports. So Astrid in our department runs these reports, and then we go through several stages. So the parameters for the report are that we look at only books that were published before 2018, because we want to give them a chance to have been checked out. Then we specify the call number range, and currently we're looking at books that have not been checked out since before June 2020. So if they haven't gone, it's 2.5 years that they've just been sitting. And then currently we're excluding items that have 20 or more checkouts. So if they were really going gangbusters and now they're kind of sitting, we let those sit. Periodically we drop that 20 plus and we run a report, and we just take a look at, okay, is this a book that was really big at one point, and just once we do that, we do a couple other things. Typically we'll run kind of a reading report. One of our team volunteers will go out and kind of pick the books, bring them back for a librarian to evaluate. Before that happens, though, one of our reference assistants cross-checks those books. Sometimes they do this before the things are pulled, sometimes after, against a book called Fiction Core Collection, which is it's the biggest book I think we have in the collection. It's like this big. It's humongous. If you come back to the reference desk, it sits behind us, and it's like this big. And it lists the books that public libraries, mid-sized and larger public libraries, kind of should have. So we cross-check and make sure that just because it's not moving here, maybe it would be embarrassing if we didn't have that book, even though maybe no one's reading it right now.
You know, like Ethan Frome or something like that.
Something like that.
It may go out once every year and a half, but it's
Yeah.
like we should have it because it's such a classic work.
Mhm. Things like that. So we cross-check against that, and then we have a librarian who looks at it for series, and we make sure to either read the entire series or keep the entire series. And sometimes that also exposes gaps in the series. So that's an all or nothing thing with series books. And she goes through, and then I do the final pass. And occasionally we'll pull things and rescue them. If I know, for example, if it's a local author that I recognize, those are going to come off and go back onto the shelf. Trying to think of other examples. If it's a book that I know one of my colleagues absolutely loves, I will alert them, like, you need to start hand selling this one because it's not getting the attention. Put it on one of your favorite displays. So we'll occasionally pull a couple things like that. And once that's done, they are checked out to a status to move them off the shelves, and they go on to the friends. So that's kind of the life cycle. So we take it pretty seriously. We don't just go, we're going to get rid of these things. It's labor intensive, it's thoughtful, it takes some time, but we do have some volunteer help with some of those steps, which is really helpful. The pulling from the shelves really helps. So we can be stationed at the desk to help patrons, and we've got our team volunteers out there in the stacks pulling the books for us, and it's a wonderful thing.
I don't know if you can answer this, Stacy. Is this the same process they use in the youth department?
It's similar. I know that for different areas of the collection, we use different parameters. For example, the medical books, we make sure they don't get too old. The history books are an interesting thing to read because, maybe there's updated information. So we do tackle little wedges of the collection differently, but they're looking at similar criteria that are appropriate for each area of the collection.
They probably have a similarly sized core collection because of classic children's literature that parents read to their children, so the children want to read them to their children, et cetera. So they're actually, copyright dates can be quite old in the fiction collection downstairs.
One of the things, too, is that when we take a look at the things that aren't moving, sometimes it's because the edition we have is ugly. And so it's sometimes an opportunity to spend $15 to get an edition that is going to be appealing, and things start moving again. It sounds silly, but if it just doesn't, it's the ugliest cover in the universe from 1982, and they've updated that cover, and it just looks more appealing. It makes it. I'm sorry to say, it makes a difference. So that's one of the other tricks that we can use.
And the irony is we could take a bunch of books that have been checked out for 2 years and put them on a display, and they mostly would check out.
Yeah.
So that's the way people's psychology works.
It's like when they do the viewing the return cards, because it's this one is pulled out for a special reason.
And Stacy, for the person who wants a book that was withdrawn, they still won't be disappointed because of interlibrary loan. They can...
Absolutely, yes. One of the things that is such a wonderful thing, when we moved from Link, which was a small consortium, to the SWAN consortium, which is made up of 100 libraries, it is so easy. Patrons can initiate their own, in effect, interlibrary loan just by putting a hold on a book. And if this library does not own it, it's going to come in very seamlessly. For patrons, they just click the button, and then all of these wonderful things happen, and the van comes and delivers, and it gets matched up with the patron. And it is easier than ever for us to get books for patrons and to get them quickly. So that's one of the things too. One of the other things is sometimes we're the library of last resort within the consortium even. And sometimes we'll take a look at that. If we're the last library that owns a particular title, we might be more inclined to hang on to it, just so we're providing some representation, unless it's just so obvious that this thing it's just done. Like it served its purpose, we wish it well, and we're going to move it along to the friends.
You'd be astonished at how many out of the 100 libraries are like there are like only 1 or 2 libraries that actually own certain titles. And so there is a value in the sort of the last library standing concept.
That was a lot of information from a couple statistics. So thanks very much,
Thanks
Stacy.
for
It was really
asking.
interesting.
Thanks.
Number 12 is a future agenda item report in our packet. And number 13 is just a list of next meetings and events. And number 14 is adjournment. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Second by Mary Ann. We don't need to discuss it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, same sign. And we're adjourned.
Feel
Thank you,
better,
everybody.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Thanks, I'm almost there, so.